Welcome to the 180 Podcast, where we tell the stories of real lives radically changed by Jesus. Today I'm here with Carl MacIntyre. I'm excited to hear his story. So, Carl, welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
Excited to be here.
Yeah. So, I know Carl through our church, through a program called Teen Challenge. We've interacted a little bit over the last couple of years, and Carl reached out to me after listening to the podcast saying, hey, I'd love to tell my story. And that's, I'm grateful that you listened to the Lord's prompting in that. And so I don't know your full story. So I'm excited to hear it. You kind of know how it goes. You've listened to some of these. And so we'll start off kind of, again, the origin story, the backstory of kind of what childhood looked like and how that informed your faith, or sometimes not. And then just kind of walk through chronologically, and where the Spirit leads, we'll talk. And so tell us kind of about the backstory.
So I was born and raised in Grass Valley most of the time. I spent my first probably 9 years or so in Truckee and Tahoe area, kind of bouncing back and forth between mom and dad.
Okay.
Mom and dad were together for the most part until I was about 9 or so. So, I mean, we spent some good time up in Truckee when I was young.
Gotcha.
I think like as far back as I can remember, I've always been troubled, First, second grade, I was already getting in trouble in school. And that was like a result of my household. So the household I grew up in, no faith, no Jesus. I never knew anything about that.
Yeah.
It was definitely an abusive household between my mom and dad. Not with me, but I watched the abuse constantly.
Yeah.
Mom and dad always fighting, alcohol, drugs in the house.
Do you think that influenced kind of even really early acting out?
Yep, definitely. Yeah. I think I was crying out for attention that I wasn't getting. So I would go to school, and that would be a safe place for me to lash out and get some attention.
Yeah.
So yeah, first and second grade, I definitely got kicked out of school a couple of times that I vividly remember.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, it was tough growing up in that environment in a household.
Just you? Any brothers and sisters?
I have a brother, and then I have a younger brother who I never met that was put up for adoption when I was 5.
Gotcha.
So, and then I have an older brother who's a half brother.
Okay.
But it was mostly just me, single child in the household. My big brother lived with his dad.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, as a young kid, I just started off super early, and then going into 3rd and 4th grade or so, it just continued on with the fighting and the drug use and all that stuff between my parents, and it was just kind of a mess. Yeah, I just...
Yeah, that's tough when the example, and maybe this is it is a message to parents.
Yeah.
Even if you're not saying it, even if you're not doing something to the child, there's teaching and learning going on.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Through example, through a lack of love, lack of attention, lack of intentionality, that at a very young age starts to have a negative impact on the direction of a young person's life. So I will say, I'll talk with guys who are really busy with this career. They're traveling a lot. They're right there. And I encourage them, like the formative years of even as young as, 2nd and 3rd grade and through those elementary years, they're like, oh, I have time. No, that age is where a lot of foundation of how they're going to act, what they're going to believe.
They say you form your personality around age 5.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's critical, parents,
Yep.
that were intentional and loving. And again, they were in a bad spot,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
They weren't sounds like in a healthy relationship with themselves, and definitely not spiritually. So,
Yep. And I think they just got consumed with themselves and the troubles that they had.
sure.
And I almost felt like I was just ignored as a child, almost.
Yeah.
My dad was there. He was pretty good. He was out there helping me do kid stuff, you know.
Yeah.
I started skateboarding super young, snowboarding.
Okay.
So those were some good qualities that I had
Yeah.
to start off with. So that was a good thing for me to release my, I guess, anger or
Yeah.
whatever I was feeling inside,
Yeah.
especially skateboarding because it's a very hardcore sport,
Yeah.
getting hurt a lot. And I was really into it.
Yeah.
But I was exposed to drugs really early on. So
Yeah.
those years, 3rd, 4th grade, I was already exposed to it.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I was about 9 years old was my first experience with alcohol and weed.
Okay.
We had a roommate, and that was my first hit of weed I ever took. The roommate gave it to me.
Sure.
And
At 9.
Yep. So at that age, experiencing something that young, of course,
Yeah.
you know, you're going to like it.
Yeah.
And I did. So I started super early. So about 10, 11, 12, I started really doing weed all the time.
Parents aware, not aware?
My mom was.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where the bad relationship with my mom kind of started, was that mom was allowing it and dad wasn't. So my dad had a good head on his shoulders for the most part. He just struggled with alcohol.
Okay.
That was his big thing. And
Yeah.
then I'm pretty sure that my mom was the one who brought the drugs around him. And then once he mixed the two, it was no good.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so we were in Truckee around that time. I think around that time, my mom started cheating on him and running off with other guys, living the drug life, and she was into meth and alcohol. So I think around year 2000, she went to prison, and that just kind of threw my whole life off track again. I started bouncing around from school to school. I was already doing that anyway. I went back and forth from Grass Valley to Truckee
Okay.
quite a few times. So I did 1st and 2nd grade Grass Valley, 3rd and 4th in Truckee, 5th and 6th in Grass Valley. So it was just like constantly back and forth.
Every couple years, yeah.
I never had a solid group of friends growing up young.
And was your dad moving with you back and forth? Is that the kind of pattern there?
In the beginning, he was, but once my mom started veering off and going off with other guys and stuff, my dad kind of stayed up there.
Okay.
And they would separate, get back together again. And my mom actually married another guy
Okay.
somewhere in that time too.
Okay.
And that's where she had my little brother.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, but yeah, so when she went to prison, that's when the major problems started happening. My dad started getting more into drugs, and that house in Truckee became like a cookhouse for meth. And so I was growing up in a meth lab basically, and I just vividly remember the smells and the paranoia of my parents like looking out the windows and all this crazy stuff. And
Wow.
so that's 9-10 years old going through.
Just yeah. And I think that's probably hard for people to even comprehend or imagine for a 10-year-old.
Yeah. And then going to visit your mom in prison and like,
that's a tough start.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. It's a tough one to overcome.
Yep.
Right. No bad examples and no spiritual walk to even. So it's a kind of a double whammy.
Yeah. As far as faith in my family, there was none. Pretty much everybody in my family is alcoholics or drug users. I have one aunt who was like diehard Christian, like never did anything in her life, which we'll get into a little bit later because she's a huge part of my story.
Cool.
But yeah, once Dad started getting into the drugs, then he just became a total mess. So I'm not sure how long it went on for, but he just started getting worse, and he started thinking people were watching him, which they were, because I remember seeing they had like surveillance set up in the house across the street from us.
Wow.
And there was one day that he just had a completely bad freak out, and we jumped in the truck together, just me and him, and like took off, ended up in a chase with the cops. And he ended up driving himself to the police station and turning himself in because he just couldn't take it. He was,
at some level, you're almost grateful that he came to the end of himself.
Yeah.
Right.
But then that's when I experienced foster care, being taken from my parents.
It's tough.
He turned himself into jail, and they had to take him, and they had to put me wherever they could.
Yeah.
So I bounced around a couple different foster homes, maybe 3 or 4 or so, and I absolutely hated those. I lashed out big time.
This is still in that kind of 10
around
10 to
9,
12.
10 years
okay,
old.
9, 10.
Yep.
Okay.
So Mom was gone, Dad's in trouble.
Yeah.
And I'm left with no one, basically.
Yeah.
So I went through a few homes. I vividly remember like freaking out at the homes and then just getting moved to the next one.
Okay.
And because I just, what do you do at that age?
Yeah.
When you're like, Mom's gone, Dad's gone, where are they? Why is nobody taking care of me? What's going on?
Yeah, your whole sense of reality, your whole sense of, who you are is in chaos.
And stripped away from you.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
So it was tough. And then you're in a house with a bunch of strangers, a bunch of strange new kids that you've never met before.
Right.
And so it ended up that my grandparents ended up fostering me, basically.
Okay.
I think that they were legal foster parents. So they took me in, which I didn't like to. And this is my mom's mom and dad. So
okay.
Grandpa was super strict. And I just didn't like it,
Yeah.
I grew up with no rules, no responsibility, none of that. And then I moved into Grandma and Grandpa's house, and it was just, Grandpa was like super strict. He's almost like military style strict.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was probably, trying to swing from one end of the spectrum to the other.
Yeah.
And that's hard. I mean, of course you're going to be resistant because you've never had any rules. You didn't know anything different.
Yeah. So, Grandma and Grandpa had 4 kids. My mom, my Aunt Wendy, my Aunt Christy, and my Uncle Charlie.
Okay.
So all of her kids are like super special to me in my life, and they all played a huge part in like helping me as a child, which is awesome. So around this time, my aunt and uncle, Christy and Dusty, which is the youngest one, they kind of were just taking me as much as they could to try to take me out of the chaos that I was living in. And they were both super good snowboarders. So I would stay with them in Truckee, snowboard, have fun.
Yeah.
I just remember them like blowing a bunch of money on me, taking me out every day.
Loving on you.
Trying to help,
Yeah.
the best they could. But I mean, they drank, they smoked too.
Right.
So I'm still in that environment.
Right. So worldly, but you're experiencing some positive
joy,
or love from someone.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So that was really awesome. And like, I'll forever be grateful for that. I didn't really realize it back then, but looking back, like, for them to just take a child into their life, because they're like young, in their 20s, probably early 20s.
Okay.
Taking me in as their own, basically, letting me stay as long as they want. And,
That's cool.
It was fun. So looking back now, I'm so grateful that they did that. So moving into Grandma and Grandpa's was back to Grass Valley.
Okay.
And I think from then on, I pretty much stayed in Grass Valley unless I was with them. So they took me till I was about 13, 14 was when I kind of stopped going up there. But
And was it on occasion, or you'd stay there for a while?
it was on occasion, but they were mostly in the winter time because we snowboarded.
Gotcha.
But they would take me for like a couple weeks at a time.
Gotcha.
And just let me stay, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Grandma and Grandpa's house was super hard for me though, because all the rules and all that. So I remember getting into a lot of trouble. So this was probably around 5th grade, between 5th and 6th grade.
Okay.
I started living with them. And around this time, I started building my core group of friends, because I was finally permanently in Grass Valley.
Right.
I already had one friend that I met in 1st grade when I was in Grass Valley, and I ended up being put in a class with him in 5th grade. And he was my first friend, First day of 1st grade, we were best friends.
Yeah.
And then had to leave, disappeared for a while. 5th grade, I come back, we're best friends again.
Yeah.
And he was trouble too. He had a mom, never met his dad, trailer park style living, out in the woods. And me and him just clicked.
Yeah.
But we were trouble together.
Yeah.
So from that point on, I just started to decline, I guess you could say.
Okay.
But in my eyes, I was having a blast,
Right. You had a partner in crime, at that point. So becomes your family, becomes your kind of identity at that point. Sure.
Yep. So I start getting into smoking weed, of course, drinking. They built a skate park in Grass Valley, and that became my home. Mm-hmm. And if you know, like the skate park world, it's like bad environment to be in all the time. It's all a bunch of, weed heads, druggies, alcoholics. They all hang out there, and it's kind of a rough, dirty crowd. So I started smoking weed there. Like a lot. This was like full-time smoking weed now. Drinking with all my friends, and this is 5th and 6th grade.
Wow.
So
still
I'm young.
Still young.
I'm like 11, 12.
Wow.
So I started off super young.
Yeah.
Into all this. And
it's getting ingrained and planted, deep.
I said the other day to somebody I was talking to, I said I was like a feral cat. I was just out there. Nobody to answer to, nobody asking me where I'm at, when I'm going to come home. At this point, I was just running away from Grandma and Grandpa's house, leaving for as long as I want. Still going to school and stuff. So 6th grade starts, still in Grandma and Grandpa's house. And 6th grade is when Dad kind of comes back around too.
Okay.
So he ended up moving to Grass Valley. My grandparents helped him get a piece of property, and he moved a trailer onto it.
Okay.
So Dad's back around. I'm starting to get closer to him. Grandma and Grandpa are kind of releasing me to go back with my dad now because he's doing good.
Okay.
My dad's always been a super hardworking guy. He's always held a job through everything.
Even through his struggles.
Yep. Yeah. So he was a carpenter in Truckee for like a long time, 15 years or so.
Okay.
And then at this point, he's a carpenter in Grass Valley now for a friend of his.
Okay.
So he's got a job. He's doing good. He's got a property and a place. So I'm able to start staying with him a little bit now.
Okay.
But 6th grade is when I start getting into trouble.
More trouble.
Yeah. Big boy trouble.
Yeah.
So like 6th grade, I got caught crushing up fake pills, selling them. Got caught by the principal. Got in trouble for that. I got caught with an ounce of weed in 6th grade, which is insane for me to think about.
Yeah.
Because I have kids that have already gone through this age. And to imagine a child that small being caught with something like that at that age is just like, it's insane to me.
Yeah, you're now reflecting, your your kids are almost a mirror, in a sense, and it probably brings back some memories,
Yep.
From when you went through some stuff.
Yeah. It's almost like reliving all those ages again, watching them grow up.
Yeah.
But I remember my grandma had to come pick me up from school that day, and her face was just like bright red, like,
Yeah. Mad and embarrassed, probably.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't imagine. And then
Yeah.
that same year, that best friend that I had, me and him ended up fighting. We got in a fight together because my brother didn't like him. And he kind of started the fight between us, pushed me into him. So we end up fighting, getting in trouble for that. And that was the last straw. I got expelled from sixth grade. He got sent to a different school. I got sent to a different school. So we became separate, me and him. And so that was another hard patch for me.
Because of the loss of your friend?
Yeah, and because I had to bounce to a different school. So I had formed kind of a good little group of friends. I had my skater friends. Yeah. And we were all super close. Basically lived at the skate park for those 2 years or so. Yeah. And the other two friends that I had that were my skater friends both lived like right next door to the skate park. Yeah. So we were just walking back and forth and just hung out in that environment. And we were there.
That's all you knew.
Yep. And trying to keep all the timelines like correct because there's a lot going on at this time in my life. So dad comes back. Mom's coming back into the picture. So mom gets a house in downtown. And this is actually about a year later. These years were all a blur to me. So it's like hard to put it all together. But my dad had that property up there until I was 13. Okay. And I'm pretty sure mom came back around, got a house in downtown. It was called Church Street, and that street was dubbed Crack Street. So it was like the rough street in town.
It's ironic.
All the druggies were there, So I lived with her in that house from 7th to 8th grade. And then, between 7th and 8th grade, started smoking cigarettes, started drinking full time and smoking. So I was really partying. I had pulled in another core friend and it started turning into like a little group, and we were inseparable for years, all these friends. But this time in life, I started getting into more trouble. So the trouble just kept escalating. Yeah. Year by year, it would just get worse and worse. So this time in my life, I'm starting to vandalize. I'm starting to run around at night with my friends, get into trouble. My first little chase, I guess you could say, with the cops. We were downtown stealing boxes to go build a fort in the bushes with. Cops pull up on us in the middle of the night, and we all take off running. Yep. Run from the cops. And that was kind of like a high to me too. I remember that feeling, just like running, getting away, and laughing about it later. And that'll play a part later on in the story. Sure. But pretty much we're just, kids being kids, running around, throwing stuff at cars and vandalizing and being bad. And living with my mom wasn't a good environment because my mom was like the type that just let me have all my friends over, party as much as we wanted to, tear up the house, and she didn't care. Wow. We could smoke, we could drink, we could do whatever we wanted to. So not really sure how it all came together, but mom and dad end up getting back together. And that was probably the worst thing that could have ever happened. So we move out of that house. I'm not really sure how it happened. I'm pretty sure we ended up getting kicked out, because
The one downtown.
Yep. It
Yeah.
was like a full on party house. I had like 10 kids over there at all times, drinking and smoking and partying and doing whatever, fighting in the street. And it was crazy. So mom and dad get back together. We move up to this property. It's good for a little while. Dad's working, mom's working. But then alcohol and drugs start getting mixed together between the two of them again.
Yeah.
And this was like probably the worst time in my life. Was probably between, I would say, 11, 12, and 13 or so.
Okay.
Living on that property. That was like some of the darkest times of my life.
Mm.
We had no power up there. It was completely off grid.
Wow.
We had generators and stuff. So it was like, got to watch TV, play video games or whatever, like once a week maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And mom and dad are just going into this dark place.
Kind of repeating old patterns.
Yeah. But like, I don't know, like when you go back to something that you've already walked away from, it's like it gets worse. It's like twice as worse the next time around. So all I remember is just like darkness up there. And mom is like, my mom is the type who's like, can be a super big instigator of fights and arguments and blaming and all this stuff. So that mixed with the drugs and alcohol, it was just such a bad environment up there between them. It was like full on fist fights every single night. And I remember like I had no faith, but I would pray on the back of the school bus every night on the way home. Like, please don't let my parents fight tonight. Please don't let them fight tonight. And, God was obviously there. I made it through it, but like for me to not ever even to have heard of God or had that in my life at all, and to just be praying like that, just crying out to him, is like, I think I just didn't want to be back in that place of abuse again, like it was before in Truckee. Because there were some big fights back then. Yeah. Like some seriously big fights. My mom's pulled a gun out, shot it in the house. Dad threw the Christmas tree through the window one year. Like total chaos. Yeah. So now I'm coming back into this place of chaos. And now I'm a little older. And it was just bad. So it was fights every single night. And what I would do is I would just run away. And I would go numb the pain however I wanted to. So around this time, I experienced harder drugs. Okay. I tried meth for the first time around this time because it was laying around everywhere, Yeah. It was a drug house. Yeah. So I got a hold of it, tried it, and it was like the craziest thing I've ever felt before.
Yeah. Still young teens.
Yeah.
13.
So, yep. And like I remember I stole a pipe and I took it to one of my friends. Me and my friend tried it. And we just ran wild in the woods and had a good old time. And my mom was already letting me drink and stuff, and my dad didn't agree with it. And I'm sure that a lot of their fights were over-parenting me because my dad wanted good for me. He didn't want me to smoke weed. He didn't want me to drink. And my mom didn't care. My mom was like getting weed pipes and little bags for me and sneaking it to me on the side. And of course I'm going to accept it. I'm a teenager.
You didn't know any different.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's the fun mom, who's just letting me do whatever I want. Sure. And it feels good to get away from what you're truly feeling. Yeah. So, so the fights continue. There ends up being a more serious fight and I'm the only witness to this fight still to this day, and I'm the only one who knows what really happened that night.
Mm-hmm.
And I can still see it in my head like a movie, and I don't think it'll ever go away.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the turning point for my life right here. I just knew, like, when you just know something bad's going to happen and it's just coming. Yeah. I just remember the car ride home that day. We picked my mom up from her work, and I could just see it in her face, like this is going to be a bad night. Mm-hmm. And she was on one of her nights where she wanted to fight, and you could tell. And we got home, and it was a full-on fight, and my dad was like super drunk, like couldn't walk drunk. And he was like that for a long time up there. He was like full-on alcoholic all the time, like non-functioning. He would still get up and go to work, but any other time there was nobody home, Yeah. So we get home, huge fight breaks out. My dad's totally silent the whole time. He just didn't want to fight. I could feel it, like he didn't want to fight anymore. But he was so drunk that, he snapped. And he was standing on the stove. He had his hands on the stoves, and he grabbed one of the burners, like one of the cast iron burners. Yeah. And he meant to just throw it behind him at the wall, and he threw it, and it hit my mom right in the face and broke her whole eye socket. And it was bad. And here I am, 12 years old. Yeah. Like freaking out. Yeah. And so I was the one who had to, I think he totally snapped because he kept going after that. And he was still trying, he saw us trying to leave, and he was chasing us. And so I had to grab a rag basically and like grab my mom by the head and put pressure on it. It was the scariest thing I've ever seen. Like her whole head was broken open. Yeah. And so I grabbed the rag, put it on her head. She tells me to go get the truck, which is my dad's truck. It's the only car up there. He's the only one driving. And
that's not going to go over well.
No. And I'm like, I don't know how to drive. And my mom's like, you just hit the pedal, you steer, and I'll do the shifting, because it was a stick shift, old Toyota. And we jump in the car, and I'm literally hand on the wheel, holding a rag to my mom's head, trying to put pressure on it while she's shifting for me. Wow. Telling me when to push the clutch and all that. And I look in the rearview mirror, and my dad's chasing us down the driveway. And we took off, and we found somebody on the road, pulled over. He drove us to the hospital. And from that point on, stripped away. Everything stripped away again. I lost my place to stay. My parents are broken up. This huge thing happened. And mom's in the hospital, and dad's obviously in big trouble now.
Yeah. Because the hospitals then has to report what happened.
Exactly. So this time frame was kind of a blur after that. I was taken off. I know that because I just didn't want to be around it. But mom was in the hospital for a good amount of time. She got a bunch of staples. This whole bone right here was broken. And it was just a mess.
Was it back to foster care or with family again?
No, it was back. I think I was back with my grandparents at that point. Yeah. Me and my mom actually stayed in like one of those domestic violence homes. Yeah. Like protection homes where nobody knows where you live. You can't get mail, all that stuff. Yeah. So I was placed in one of those. That only lasted for a couple weeks though, I think. And my mom she couldn't be contained in a place like that because she was still on drugs and all that stuff. So I remember staying there for a little while, but then after that, mom was out for revenge, I guess. So she actually ended up going back and burning his house down for that with me there. I was with her, and like insane.
Yeah.
12, 13-year-old child going through this.
Yeah, I'm not sure there could have been quite an opposite of a good example.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And basically my mom's outlook on all of this was, are you going to stay with him or are you going to come with me?
Yeah.
And I chose my mom.
Yeah.
And I think that looking back at that, that's a big regret in my life. Because I don't think my dad was a very bad man. I think that he was so far under the influence that he just, and over so much time of fighting and chaos like this, he just snapped one day.
Yeah.
And an accident happened. He wasn't intentionally trying to hurt her.
Yeah.
But it happened.
Yeah.
And
that's bad things happen when we abuse, substances, or we get down a dark path. That, there's consequences to our bad behavior.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, Mom went and burned his house down, and we had actually had a fire up there before that already because of my mom's being on drugs and alcohol, and they were in another stupid fight like always. And I remember she was burning his checks from work, like messing around. I walked in the room and I was like, what are you doing? And she's like burning the checks, and she's in there freaking out, and one of them dropped down the crack of the bed. And that was like the mutual fire, like it happened to all of us. The house burned down, and we ended up getting a new trailer up there and everything. But it was an accident, But in my eyes, I'm the only witness to this stuff. They're too gone to like remember what's really going on. Nobody else is up there to see what's going on. But that could have been avoided. But I remember running outside to grab water, and by the time I got back, it was the whole bedroom was up, because it's a trailer. Yeah. And it's a mattress. Yeah. It's like this.
Well, everything's flammable.
Yeah. So that had already happened before that. And I don't know what it was with fire and my mom, but she went back and lit his house on fire intentionally.
Wow.
And that was like her revenge for him hurting her like that. And then I remember going up there to visit him after the trailer was burnt down again. And he was like living in his truck with his bottle of alcohol, and he didn't move. He didn't talk. He didn't move. He didn't get up. He didn't go to work. He didn't do anything. He just shut down completely. And that was the hardest thing for me to see. I remember going up there. I can't remember who I was with, but we took his alcohol and came back up the next day. And one day without alcohol, he ended up having a seizure. That's how deep he was into alcohol.
Yeah.
And that was super hard to see, as a child. And I just remember trying to talk to him, wanting to talk to him and get a response from him and telling him I love him, and there's nobody home.
Yeah.
He just didn't talk at all.
That's pretty deep into your alcoholism. Yeah.
So, and then after that fight happened, I don't know the process really, but he ended up going to prison for it. I think he did like 2 years for it.
Okay.
So that was the last time I ever saw my dad.
Okay.
He went to prison, and then after prison, he moved up to the Seattle area, and he ended up getting his life right, and he's been a carpenter up there still to this day.
Okay.
And he's been clean and sober still to this day, over 15 years.
Wow.
Maybe a little more than that now. But my life was left in shambles.
Yeah.
And I was left mad at my dad, and through a lot of influence from my mom, of course, because my mom's like, he's the bad guy. He did this to us. It's his fault. We're like this. So at 13, me and my mom become homeless together, basically. There's no more grandma and grandpa. I mean, they were around. They wanted to help, but they couldn't at this point. They
couldn't help anymore, yeah.
I was too far gone. I was already experimenting with meth. And one of those other core friends that I had, he was already doing the same too. One thing about me and my friends is like I look back and we're all fatherless. We're all grew up exactly the same.
Yeah.
We had so much in common. So I had another friend who was already experimenting with meth too, and then that was just like me and him got together, and that was it. So that became a part of my life. So now I'm homeless. I'm on drugs. I'm on alcohol. I'm still going to school because that's where my friends are.
Sure.
That's the only reason I'm going, is the free lunch and the friends. And 13 years old. Yeah. That was the big turnaround. So mom becomes completely homeless, like living in a tent in the bushes. I'm doing it with her, but I refuse that lifestyle of like dirty homelessness,
Yeah.
Excuse me. So I, around this age, start selling drugs too, to kind of keep myself afloat. So I start selling weed at school, because it's in Grass Valley. It's everywhere.
Yeah, fully acceptable.
Yeah, so it's free to me. You can trim, you can do all these things to get free weed. And then, so I just started turning around and selling it and kind of making a living for myself. Started couch surfing and staying with friends wherever I could.
Yeah. Better than being homeless.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then mom starts going, like from man to man to man to man, abusive man to abusive man to abusive man. After this, I don't know what it is, but so anytime she would get a guy, they would get a house, I would go stay with her, of course,
Sure.
I'm not willing to sleep in the bushes, but if you got a guy, you got a house, I'll come stay. So I'm kind of forming this like fend for yourself type of lifestyle, which bred a lot of selfishness in me and a lot of like, if I see it, I'm going to take it,
Yeah.
And so with selling drugs and stuff, I'm also stealing. I'm also, doing whatever I can to earn money.
Yeah.
So now we're getting into like 8th, 9th, like
junior
start of freshman year.
Yeah.
So the drugs are still in full effect. I was on meth for about three years, not fully, but I was doing it, regularly, but I wasn't like a full, like you couldn't tell. I was like a druggie, because I was just doing a little bit of everything all the time.
Sure.
And now I'm going into high school. So high school, of course, is a whole different world for a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Especially for a troubled kid like me. I've got my group of friends now. We're all troubled. We're the bad kids in school. So we go to the big high school. We're basically, I think I was in the regular classes for like the first month or two before they realized like, hey, this kid's got to be separated. So they actually had a section in the high school that was 2 portables, and that was our classes. Like everybody had like 8 subjects during the day or 7 during the day.
Yeah.
We had all those subjects in 2 classrooms. And we like had to eat lunch separated from everybody. We were like the bad kid class. So it was all kids that are in and out of juvenile hall. Yeah. That type of thing. They're all troubled kids.
Segregating you guys so you don't influence others.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Because when we mingle with like the regular crowd, we end up in trouble, fighting and all that stuff. So now I start really partying. Once I hit high school, I just started partying. Life was a party. House parties, fights, all the stuff. I was very influenced by like hip hop, rap music, that kind of culture.
Yeah.
That really started very young too. I remember my dad when I was a kid, he used to listen to rap music in the truck with me. It's funny, it was like either country or rap. And
It's funny.
one of the two.
Yeah.
But I really like leaned towards the hip hop side of things. And I just remember those days and I loved it being a kid and the music. And I related so much to the music because it's all about struggle and it's all about,
Yeah.
And I think I was in the 5th grade when I got like my first Walkman, like the old disc with the big headphones and stuff. And I started getting my rap CDs.
Yeah.
So I was heavily influenced by that. And that kind of created my personality too. And all my friends were like that too. So it was, we just were partying, having a good time. So like, I only made it at that high school for 3/4 of the year before I got kicked out of that school. And I got kicked out of it for drug-related stuff, smoking. Those classes were chaos, like full-on chaos. We were just vandalizing the classroom, and it was like nobody was watching us almost.
Wow.
So from there, I went to continuation school. So there's 2 continuation schools in our town, Sierra Foothill and EJ. And I started off in Sierra Foothill and went there. So now I'm in a school that's all bad kids. And I thrived there, So that was sophomore year now. Then I start getting in trouble with the law. So the first time I went to juvenile hall, 14, I went to juvenile hall for threatening to kill my teacher. And that's just the attitude that I had. That's what all that chaos in the home created in me, was just an angry, mad teenager.
Yeah.
I was super mad at my dad. I was super mad at my situation.
Yeah.
I was homeless and I was still taking myself to school,
Yeah.
But I went to school for the friends and the food. And that's the only reason I ever stayed in school.
Yeah.
So that was my first experience with the law. Went to juvenile hall. It was just like an overnighter. But from that point on, I got put on probation. So, and then from there, I was on probation forever. Once you get put on probation, you're stuck on it.
Yeah.
Because it's just a cycle of, they're always watching you. No matter what you do, you're going to end up in trouble unless you completely turn around.
Yeah. So you just kept reoffending. Yeah.
Yep. So
it's almost like prison without being in prison.
Yeah.
Right? You learn the lifestyle, Yep.
And that's what I was surrounded by, as kids that were in and out of juvenile hall, and we're all bad and no other school wants us. So, so the other continuation school's in the same parking lot. They're 2 different schools. One's right across the way. So when I got arrested that time, they expelled me, put me in the other school across the street. That one's twice as bad. It's half the kids, but it's even worse kids. It's all like young pregnant girls and like, bad kids. And I can't really remember what happened in that school, but I think my mom fought for me to get back into the other school. So I ended up getting back into Sierra Foothill.
Gotcha.
Within months, I'm in trouble again.
Yeah.
I steal a thing of CDs out of this kid's backpack, get arrested again. And when they arrest you, there's a school cop there. So the cop comes into the classroom, puts you in handcuffs in front of everybody. And
everybody's used to it.
Yep. Everybody's used to it.
It's crazy.
And taken out in handcuffs again. Didn't go to juvenile hall for that one, but I definitely got in trouble. And then get put back in the other school. And I spent the rest of high school in that school.
Okay.
So that school was smoking breaks. Like every 20 minutes we're smoking breaks.
Wow.
So it's kind of crazy that high school was still like that at my age, you know.
Yeah.
Even the teachers were there having smoking breaks with us in that school. So at that point that school moved down a few miles out of town. And so we were kind of separated now from everybody else.
Yeah.
And so that was sophomore year. So between sophomore and junior year, I think this is like 2004 or so, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Then like the hip hop stuff that I was into is really taking over now. So it was called like the hyphy movement. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's all Bay Area related hip hop, and it's just crazy and wild and parties. And so that kind of came from the Bay Area up to our little town, and Grass Valley was off the hook. So what that culture is like modern day hippies kind of. It's all rave parties.
Yeah.
Ecstasy, mushrooms, acid, all these different types of drugs. So then I start falling into that realm. So my brother's a DJ. He does all the rave parties. So I'm free access to any party I want to go to. Have invites everywhere. So it's me. I bring all my friends. So now I get super heavy into ecstasy. I kind of let go of the meth and that stuff because that's like kind of a dirty drug, you know, like in that culture.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a dope fiend, basically.
Gotcha.
You know?
Yeah.
So me and all my friends kind of take on to this rave party culture. Start doing ecstasy, mushrooms, acid, and I spent a good solid 2 years on ecstasy, probably the rest of my high school.
Yeah.
And I remember at that school, my principal was actually my mom's teacher when she was a kid. So he, I had a good relationship with him, and he was awesome. And I actually showed up to school on acid one day, and I was like in the back of the classroom, like, I don't know what I was doing, but I was gone. And he like pulled me out of the classroom. He was like, "Hey, what's wrong with you?" And I told him the truth, and he didn't get me in trouble. He just loved on me, and he was like, "Can I drive you home?" And he drove me home, walked me in, and he's like, "Can I come hang out with you? Like, are you going to be okay?" And so that's like how far I was gone. I was even doing it in school.
Wow.
Like I remember we used to put our books up and like do drugs off the table in the classroom behind our books. Like our little generation was wild.
Yeah, that's
totally
crazy.
out there with it.
Yeah.
And we didn't care who saw or anything.
So you're getting close to, towards junior, senior year at this point, after a couple years in the rave culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this time in life, I stopped caring about school, like completely. I just don't care anymore. I'm not doing the work at all. I'm still showing up, but I'm leaving early. Extended lunches, whatever I want to do.
Just don't care.
And none of the teachers care. They all expect us either to go to jail or go to prison at this point. They're like, these kids aren't going to make it, That's kind of their attitude towards us.
Yeah.
So I just completely stopped caring. And I just start partying more. I start getting into more crime-related stuff. Start robbing cars, robbing houses. We would go around and just break into cars all night, run around breaking into cars all night. And That's how we.
Was that to fuel habits?
Yep.
Is that to fuel the
Yeah.
drug? Yeah.
And it's also like an adrenaline type thing too.
Yeah.
It was just running around being bad. So I'm getting really heavy into drugs. I'm starting to get in trouble. I'm starting to do all this bad stuff. I'm around 16 or 17. My mom was doing pretty good at this point. She had an apartment, like her own apartment. She wasn't like living off of a guy anymore. And it was nice, but she saw me like really doing bad. So she decided to move us away to try to get me better. Yeah. I think was kind of her goal. I think it was for her a little bit too.
Sure.
She had a friend in the Bay Area in San Rafael who let us move down there, and not good, because my whole life was fueled by that Bay Area hip hop culture, drug using, and all this stuff. So now you're taking me from a school of all these kids that I know, that I'm friends with everybody, to this ghetto inner city high school. Yeah. I was literally the only white kid there. So I had to find a way to fit in. Yeah. You know? So my way to fit in was weed. I'm from Weed Central. Yeah. And I get it for free. So I felt it out like the first day of school. Second day of school, I was like, I'm bringing some weed to school. And
this is how I'll make friends.
Yep. This is how I'll make friends. So these two black kids come up to me and they're like, you're from Nevada City. So like, that's how known it is. I go to this random city in the Bay Area and they know about my little town. I was like, wow. I was like, you guys know about Nevada City? And I was like, yeah. So I smoked with them after school, and it was like that. Instant friends. Yeah. And instant connects. So now I could come up to town. I started selling weed down there because it sells for twice as much. And so that leads into from selling weed to selling ecstasy, and it just accumulates from there. Yeah. And so now I'm bringing all these friends down there to party and to meet all my friends down there, and it just turned into this huge thing. And I think my mom tried to get me out of town to help me, and it just made me twice as bad. Wow. And the reality of it is it turned me into a drug dealer. So I get full blown into selling drugs now. Selling ecstasy was like, I bought a car within a month of selling ecstasy down there. And so got my first car. Now I'm back and forth from Grass Valley to the Bay Area all the time. I think I was about a week or two from graduating, and the principal tried to take my hat away from me, and I told her no, and I got expelled. My last week of school, and just dropped out, never went back. Yeah. So that was crazy. And then from San Rafael, we moved to Vallejo. Yeah. And then that was a whole nother thing.
Cause probably not much better.
Yeah. Vallejo is definitely worse than San Rafael. San Rafael is pretty nice for the most part. Yeah. But it's ghetto. It's city. And I loved the ghetto. I was like infatuated by gangsters and that kind of lifestyle, and that's what I wanted for myself. I wanted big flashy things. I wanted nice cars. I wanted, I loved the drug lifestyle. I was having fun, but the reality of it is I was just numbing my pain from all the chaos I grew up in. But I didn't have a choice.
Yeah, you were lost.
Yeah, when you're that young and you experience all that stuff as a small child, you don't get a chance to grow and develop into like a regular human. Yeah. So I was having a blast. So now high school's over. We're in Vallejo. Vallejo's like super ghetto. super bad. There's no good part of Vallejo. I went all over it. There's no nice part of town.
Yeah.
You know. My mom was doing pretty good. She was like working as like a doctor's assistant or something, like a front desk. And she was doing pretty good. She thought I was probably doing pretty good too, but I was just doing bad. She was at work all the time, and I had the house to myself, basically.
Yeah.
So at this time, another thing happens that kind of just wrecks us all. So her sister, Wendy, which is the Christian one. So she was the only Christian in my family that I ever looked to. Like, and I kind of thought it was like weird because she was the only one, you know? And I never really took to it. And the only thing I know is she was like the best. She was my favorite aunt. She was always the nicest. She was always cared the most. And so she was 40 years old. She got cancer. So we moved back to Grass Valley. To kind of, I think my mom wanted to just be close.
Sure.
Because she's the oldest sister. And I think my mom's the second. So they were pretty close.
Yeah.
So we moved back to Grass Valley, which is not good for me, you know.
Yeah. Back to a familiar environment.
Yep. And then I'm also back to feeling something super bad again because my favorite aunt now has cancer.
Yeah.
And here I am wondering why the Christian one has cancer.
Yeah.
And she's dying, basically. So within 6 months, I just watch her shrivel up and die. And it was the saddest thing that I ever saw, you know, or experienced. Because I'm like, God's supposed to be good, you know? Like, I was super confused by it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know anything about Christianity or God. I just thought, like, if you live that way, you're supposed to be, you know?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be good.
Yeah.
So I watch her go through that process, and that was super hard. She was always so good. And, like, if you read her memorial sheet, all the things she was doing was like crazy. She was just out there, and she wanted to be a missionary and all this stuff. And she was already a missionary, just doing what she was doing.
Yeah.
So she'd never done drugs in her life, never been with a man. She was a virgin when she died. You know, that's how into it she was.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because brother smokes and drinks, sister smokes and drinks. My mom is like full-blown drug addict, crazy, fighting, bad men, all this stuff, and she's like the golden child.
That's crazy in the midst of all that.
Yeah. So it was super confusing for me to watch her die the way she did. So that made me like mad at God, you know? Like, how can you be God and let this happen to somebody so good, you know?
Sure.
Like, she was always there in my life and always around. And anytime she was around, she was good. And she was trying to help, and she was just loving on us. And she loved my mom no matter what she was into. And so that was super hard for me. So I came back to Grass Valley, watched all that happen, and then instead of doing anything good, I just went back to hard drugs.
Yeah.
So that's when I got back into meth. And when I got back into it, it was like, I don't know, it took me like a week, and it was like, boom, I'm a full-on dope dealer now. Like, I went straight, because I was already selling other drugs, you know?
Yeah.
And I have to support myself. So I had this friend that was always like poking at me, like hinting like, you want to get high with me, like he was always on meth for a while there
Yeah.
before me, and he had known that I had a past with it, and it was like this thing, like he wanted me to show him, you know.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know what it was. So he was always poking at me, asking me. And then finally one day, like when I got the call that she had died, I was like, okay, give me that thing.
Yeah. Again, trying to numb the pain.
Yep. And within a week, I was, having ounces on me and selling it. And that lifestyle as a meth addict, dope dealer is like insane. It's super fast paced. Like, just that portion of my life was just like, it was fun, but bad, I had so much fun, but I just, I didn't know anything different, really. I just was running full speed.
Yeah. You were experiencing the world's fun.
Yep.
Yeah. And you loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, once I got on board with that, my mom did the same thing. My mom had this episode, I guess. She was with this bad guy, and I don't really know their situation, but he had like a trailer on my grandparents' property, and my mom shows up one day at my grandparents' house, and I was there. I was like staying in their little loft upstairs, and my mom comes in like speeding down the driveway, and I was like, oh great.
Yeah.
So my mom's feeling the same thing from her sister dying, obviously.
Yeah.
She's relapsed. She's back into it. She's been with this bad guy. She comes speeding in the driveway. She comes in the door. Her and my grandma are fighting. They get into like a full-on fist fight. My mom ends up beating her up, and then my mom takes off again. And I'm like sitting there watching through the window at her driving away, and then like 20 minutes later, I see smoke coming up from the trees down the road. And I'm like, oh my God, not again. She burned the other guy's trailer down.
Oh, jeez.
So.
That's her MO.
Yep, exactly. So that was super traumatic for me again, to have to go through that.
Hey, reliving the same thing.
Yeah. And yeah, that was scary. And then from that point on, my mom was just mixed up with such bad dudes all the time.
Yeah.
Even through high school and stuff. Like whenever, after that situation with my mom and dad, when she left him, she just had bad boyfriend after bad boyfriend. And I like joke around like there's not a boyfriend my mom's had that I haven't beat up. And I was her savior. I was her husband, Yeah,
you were the one protecting her.
That was the reality of it. It was like I had to protect her from all these bad guys, and my dad's the only boyfriend she's ever had that I haven't fought. And so even after we left that environment with my dad, that was still the lifestyle that I was stuck in.
Yeah.
So now, my aunt's gone. I watched that whole thing in front of me. Super hard. Me and mom are both relapsed. Mom's going off the rails again.
Yeah.
Mom's homeless again, obviously.
Your mid-20s, it sounds like.
Yeah, right after high school.
Okay, early
So
20s.
we were only in Vallejo for a little while before we ended up coming back up here. So I'm probably 18, 19 at this point.
Okay.
And so I just go full blown into the meth scene. I stop the ecstasy, I stop the mushrooms, I stop all that other stuff, and I just go into full drug dealer mode. And I'm still homeless, still couch surfing. My whole childhood I was infatuated with the gangsters, so that's what I started hanging around. Basically, I started hanging around with all the older guys from prison. those type of dudes. And that's where I was getting all my drugs from and stuff too.
Sure.
Because my mom had a whole group of friends that are a generation in front of me. So that's like my people that I ended up connecting to.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And I just love them. I've always been infatuated with like the gangster type people, you know? It's like, because I had no father figure there.
Yeah.
So that's what I looked up to. So now I'm running around with them. So I start getting in trouble with the law again. I end up, I think 20 years old, 19, 20 years old, I get my first real big bust. So I got caught with a bunch of guns and a bunch of meth and a bunch of weed in this house. They basically raided the house. Found me there sleeping. That was a rough experience too, because like I had come down, I was sleeping on the couch, and I wake up to the door busted down and me being like picked up and choke slammed off the couch and put in handcuffs. And like that was my first real intense arrest, you know. And somebody had told on me, they were watching me for a while at that house, because I moved into this place and I turned it into a complete drug house. And that was what I did. I was homeless, so I'd find a house, I would move in, take it over, turn it into my drug house, you know, with everybody that I met. And because that's all I knew. I was selfish, you know, I just take. So from that point on, I get put on felony probation. I did a little bit of time in jail. I go into jail. It's all my homies in there. Yeah. So that didn't help either, because I'm like, okay, this is jail. I can deal with that. Yeah. You know? So from that point on, my new addiction became running from the cops and being on the run and still selling drugs and doing all this. But that became a whole new addiction, like what I told you earlier. Yeah. Where we ran away from the cops, and it was fun and it was a blast. And so now I'm an adult and I'm like, okay, this is awesome. And I had this friend, he picked me up. He was going to drive me to my court date for the guns. And he looked at me and he's like, are you sure you want to go to this? He's like, you know, they're going to take you to jail, right? And I was like, nope, I don't want to go. So from that point on, we just started running from the cops all the time. I was on felony probation. So anytime I came in contact with the cops, I went straight to jail, no matter what, for however long, you know.
You probably had a warrant out for your arrest because you didn't show up to court.
All the time. Yeah. Yep. So from 19 years old to 23, I was on the run constantly. I never went to court unless I was in a jumpsuit, you know, going straight from jail. So yeah, I was in it at that point. It became regular for me to be on the run, to be running around at night and ducking the cops and doing all this crazy stuff. And I was a full-on criminal at this point. I was just surrounded by bad people, bad environments. Everybody around me was doing the same thing I was doing. Yeah. And I was the drug dealer in town, you know? Yeah. I caught another case in Placer County. So I've got warrants in Nevada County, new case in Placer County. And these are big drug cases. They're a big deal. But in my eyes, I don't see it that way. I don't really. I'm not looking at the consequences at this point. I'm just a wreck. My mom's a wreck too at this point. And dad's just gone. Yeah. I don't talk to Dad anymore, like at all. I call him from jail every once in a while, for whatever reason, maybe to get money, you know,
Yeah.
maybe to just call and say, hey, I'm in jail,
Yeah.
you know?
Talk to someone familiar.
Yeah, there was no real relationship with him at all. I had gone up to visit him once or twice, and it was just weird at that point, you know?
Yeah.
So life is leading down this crazy road. It's headed for complete disaster. My mom, I don't know what happened with her, but she ended up finding out about Teen Challenge at some point. And I was in jail at the time that I heard about it. Somebody said, your mom's going to a program. And I was like, cool, good for her, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe she needs it, you know? I didn't really care. I didn't really, you know?
Yeah.
We just kind of had that relationship where it's just like, if you got something, I'll stay with you. And she was the same with me. If you got something, I'll stay with you. I'll hang with you. And we just kind of fed off each other like that.
Yeah.
So she goes to the program. Then she becomes this like Christian, you know? So that's super weird for me. I'm like, okay, whatever. And I'm just still doing what I do. My grandma ended up coming to this house I was at and basically was like, hey, your mom's in this program. We're going to start visiting her. She's going to be at this concert down in Yuba City and we want you to come, basically. And I was like, no, I don't really want to go. Because I was, you know, on one.
Yeah.
And
doing your own thing.
Doing what I do. And basically she was like, I'm not asking you. You're coming. And I think that was like their way of like wanting to get me help, you know. They always told me what to do, you know. You need to get off drugs, you need to do this, you need to do that. Yeah. And I just looked at it as just that. Like they're just telling me what to do. They don't know, you know. And I kind of looked at them like I think I was ungrateful for the help that they gave me and like, you know, was like, you guys didn't even help me when I really needed it, you know, because, you know, at one point they were just kind of gone and there was no like invite to come live with them anymore. And it was just like, you and mom are on your own. See you later.
Yeah.
But I think that's what people have to do sometimes, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. In the midst of it, you probably couldn't see, you know, that they had come to the end of how they could help.
Yeah.
And they needed, you know, we see this, you talk about, you know, talk with Johnny, you talk with people have to come to the end of themselves. Mm-hmm. And at some point when you're helping them,
yep,
you're just prolonging them from getting to the end of themselves.
Yeah. So my grandma basically drags me to this concert and it's like a Christian concert. Mm-hmm. And that's not my style at all. Yeah. I'm like dirty ghetto kid, baggy pants, dressing like a gangster, drug dealer, high as a kite, getting dragged off to this Christian concert.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like, I don't want to do that. So she dragged me out there. I came. The whole time I was there, I was getting high in the little porta potty. And the little porta potty is like dead center of the concert. And there's like all these Christian people in a program around me. I didn't even know. Like I wasn't really paying much attention to that they're all like programmers. They're all ex-drug addicts. They're all trying to be good. And here's this kid, you know, getting high in the porta potty. And so this was my first brush with, like, I would say it was the first time I felt somebody actually, like, care when they talk to me, you know? I think in the drug world, like, nobody cares about you. They only want you for what you have,
Sure.
you know? And I think that was my lifestyle growing up, is that, you know, I either wanted something from somebody or they wanted something from me.
Yeah.
So I'm walking in and out of this Christian concert, going to smoke cigarettes in the parking lot across the street, because we had to go across the street to smoke because it's a program.
Yeah.
But I don't really know any of this. And there's like this big gangster dude like following me around kind of, and like looking at me all the time, like staring at me. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, oh great, this is like somebody I robbed, or somebody he wants to beat me up or something, or he doesn't like me. And this is Anthony Ascension, by the way.
Okay, Big Anthony.
So
shout out.
And this was back when he was big.
Yeah.
And scary looking, you know, tattoos and all that.
Long hair, yep.
Yep. And he's kind of following me around, and he comes up to me in the parking lot while I'm smoking a cigarette, and he's like, hey, how you doing? And I was like totally thrown off by it. I was like, this dude's asking me how I'm doing. And he's like, can I get you a cold drink or something? And I was like, sure. And we walk back over to the concert thing, and he gets me a cold drink, and he's like, so how's life? Or some question like that. He's like, how are you? What's going on? You know, what's up with your life? Like genuinely wanted to know.
Yeah.
And I just like broke down. Like had a total meltdown in this public place with this dude. And like, I don't know, I just felt the love from him. He just had, you know, I've never had anybody come up to me and just genuinely want to know how I'm doing, you know?
Isn't it interesting, the moment somebody with God's love showed that they cared, your soul could feel it.
Yeah. It's like glowing off of them, you know, is the only way I can explain it.
Yeah.
And he wanted to know, and I just broke down, and I just told him everything, and I was like, I'm a mess. And I talked to him like I'd known him forever. And I'm not sure how long we talked, but I kind of go my separate way or whatever, like in shock, you know?
Yeah, what was that?
Yeah, exactly. Like, totally not expecting that from a person that looks like him. Yeah. You know? No cuss words, no nothing like that. He didn't talk like I talked. He didn't act like I act. Yeah. He just, all he had was love for me. And offering me a drink like that. Yeah. It was just so nice.
Simple gesture.
Yeah. And so the party goes on or whatever. And then they play this song at the end, and it's actually Big Daddy Weave was at the concert, and he was playing that song Redeemed. And I don't know if you've heard that song, but it's just like, it's intense. I'll never forget that song, and I'll never forget that moment. And like, he starts talking about prayer, and he calls like a group of guys and girls up there to the front to stand in front of the stage, and he's like, anybody who wants prayer, come up here. And Anthony was one of the guys who went up there. And I would never do this normally. Like, I still can't explain it to this day. I was just being pulled up to that stage. Like, prayer to me, like, what's prayer? What's that going to do for me? Like, I don't want anything to do with that. I just watched my aunt shrivel up and die. What did prayer do for her? You know? But something was just pulling me. And I went up there, and I went to Anthony, and he prayed for me. And I don't know what he said. I don't know what happened. I still can't explain why I went up there. And I literally was like stepping over people in the crowd to get there. I was in the very back and walked all the way to the front.
It's like God picking up your feet and moving
just
them forward.
Like the combination of the love and that song playing, like the words of that song just stuck to me so hard. And that was the moment. You know, I didn't know it in that moment,
Yeah.
but I got saved right there, right then and there in front of everybody, high as a kite, you
It's
know,
crazy.
pocket full of drugs, like messy, dirty kid. Like I was in a wife beater tank top with big baggy, saggy pants, big glasses and a hat on,
Yeah.
like a mess. And everybody could see it but me.
Yeah.
And
God's not afraid of that.
nope.
He's not afraid of where you're at. He was going to call you out of that
Yep.
eventually,
Yeah.
but he's not afraid for people to, like people say, God will meet you where you're at. And
Yeah.
I 100% believe that. He's not afraid of the mess that you were.
Yeah.
Now, he's not going to allow you to stay there,
No.
right? He's going to
Yeah.
call you to something greater.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's cool.
And I mean, like after this happened, I kind of started seeing the signs a little bit. Like there was times where, because religion is there in jail, you know, it's like everybody goes to jail. Now they want to read the Bible, you know, and I had this cellie that I was put with, and I was with him for quite a while, and I knew him a little bit from the streets, but you're in jail, you're in a 8x6 little cell, bunk beds.
Yep.
And this dude jumps off his bunk and he's like, I don't care if you want to hear it or not, but I read the Bible every night out loud. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
fine, go ahead. And I just remember sitting on my bunk and listening to him read, and he would just read like Psalms and Proverbs. And I would just sit there like, oh, this is cool. Like, does it sound like there'd be some cool tattoo sayings or something,
Yeah.
you know?
It's entertainment for you.
Yeah. And I thought of like Chinese proverbs and things like that, and like it all sounded the same to me.
Yeah.
But those were seeds being planted in me.
Sure.
And after my aunt died, we started going through all her stuff, and we found like a whole one of those file boxes. The whole box was filled of prayers for people, and there's a whole book on me and my mom of handwritten prayers for us, and she had been praying for us for like years.
It's cool. It's cool to find.
Yeah. And it was like, that was a huge eye-opener for me too. Like I started to realize like her death was not like God's fault, you know? Like there's a reason she passed away early, you know? I'll never know that reason. I'll never know how to explain it, but you know,
God, our days on this earth we're not going to be here 1 minute longer or shorter than God has for us here on this earth.
Yeah.
And it's hard to grapple with sometimes because the answer is not always clear.
Yep.
But
a lot of things here that we're not meant to understand.
Yeah.
So after this concert, I spend probably another year, maybe a little more, in and out of jail. I think like directly after that concert, like within a week or so, I was back in jail. And I was just doing the same thing over and over again. That stretch from like 19 to 23, I was in jail more than I was out of jail. Definitely. And since I had the warrants in Placer County and Nevada County, I would get arrested in Nevada County. They'd send me to Placer County. I'd get out of Placer County, and because Placer County was always full, so they would hold me for 72 hours and then kick me out because there was no room. And I was like minor charges, you know, it wasn't anything violent or crazy like that. So just drug charges. So they would just send me on my way. And I got super lucky for that to happen. And that's God too, I believe. Because later on down the road, I found out what I was actually facing. So this year goes by, and whatever happened at that concert kind of like turned something on in my mind. And now I go from, this is the only way of living, this is all I know, this drug life and this chaos and this running from the police and doing all this stuff is all I know, to hey, there's something different. There's something different out there. I want to know what it is. And I feel like after that concert, I just became completely miserable. Like before, I was having a blast. I was running wild, having a full on blast, doing whatever I wanted when I wanted, making a bunch of money, losing a bunch of money, you know.
Yeah.
To now, I'm miserable. I'm doing what I've always done, that I've always had fun doing, but I'm miserable. Like, why do I feel like this?
Yeah.
And I was like almost mad about it. But it was like I would get pulled over with some friends, wouldn't have anything on me, wouldn't be doing anything wrong, under the influence, of course, but I would go to jail. Nobody else did because I was on felony probation.
Yeah.
And that happened a couple times, and I would do like a 4 to 6 month stretch just for nothing, basically.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I started to think of that. And then I was in jail. This was the last time I was in jail. And I called my mom. And I was like, remember that guy from the concert? Find me his number. He told me that he could help. I don't remember what he said about it, but he told me about the program.
Yeah.
And I was like, he said he can help. Get me his number. Let me call him. And because his mom is who ran the women's program. So that's where my mom was at.
Yeah.
And that's how it was all connected, was Anthony was working security to help them out for his mom. Gotcha. And I think he was on pass helping his mom down there. So it was like God put him in that perfect place just for me. That's what it feels like, you know? Like he wasn't even supposed to be there.
Right.
He's on pass. Like
he may not talk to another soul that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like those are the things I think about, like, why was he there that day? You know, like if he wasn't there that day, what would have happened? Where would I be now?
Yeah.
So I get his number. I don't call him from jail. I just get it and I think about it. There was actually this guy in jail. He was like a federal prisoner, because they moved those guys up to the county jail if they're good behavior and stuff, to kind of live this cush life because they're doing life or whatever. And I'll never forget this guy. He was in there always because he was doing life. So every time I bounced in there,
still there.
He was still there. And I would just go to his window, talk to him, because they didn't let him out at the same time we did. But he was just such a good dude, such a nice dude. And he was like, one day he was like, are you ever going to change or do anything different? He's like, you should take a look into some programs or something. Or like, he's like, do you want to be here like me doing what I'm doing? And it's really eye-opening to hear like a person like that telling you like to do better.
Yeah, most want to change what you're doing.
Yeah, most of those guys in there are just like, that's their lifestyle, it doesn't matter. That's what they chose. But this guy was like, he told me to look into that Delancey Street in San Francisco, and he's like, you need to go to a hardcore program, not like a 60-day or 30-day or something like that. So he kind of planted that seed for me too, like all those times I went in there and talked to him, and he told me to be better, and he's like, you don't want to live like this, you know?
Yeah.
And we had a lot of good conversations.
This God whispering.
Yeah, exactly. When I look back on it, there was so many of those little signs, you know, like my aunt, my whole time growing up.
Yeah.
She always had those little whispers. She was so gentle, and like, she never told me how to live my life or what to do or what not to do. She was never like that.
Yeah.
She would just slip me little things like Christmas presents and stuff that were like Christian related. She would get me like Christian rap CDs and stuff because that's what I related to.
Yeah.
And you know, it was clean, so she could give it to me.
Yeah.
But I get out of jail and I go right back to this place that I was at before, and it's like a hotel, and it's like the dirty, grungy hotel like all the drug dealers live at. Even the owners are drug dealers, drug addicts. And my dealer pulls up. I get in the car. They put a big bag on my lap. And I like look down at it. And I don't know what came over me. It was just like the concert. I was like, grabbed it, gave it back. And they were like, what's wrong with you? I was like, I don't want this. And they were doing that for free, you know? They were just putting me back on my feet because I just got out of jail, and that's like how it was.
It's like handing a stack of cash.
Yeah, they were like offended by it. They were like, what's wrong with you? Like, you're not going to take that? And I was just like, I can't do this anymore, like almost in tears. And this is right when I get out of jail, only like the first 12 hours. And that all this happens right here. I give it back to him. I just get out of the car. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I go back in the hotel room, and it's one of my best friends there. And I just looked at him, and I was like, I got to go away for a while. I remember saying those words. I got to go away for a while. And he was like, looked at me like I was crazy. He's like, what are you talking about? He like probably thought I was high or whatever, you know? Yeah. And I like went out and I went around the building and I called that number, and he picked up right away. Like he said he would.
Yeah.
And so I start telling him. He's like, what's going on? I was like, you remember me? And he's like, of course I remember you. Like, that day never left him either.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm in Grass Valley. I don't want to do this anymore. You said you had a program you could get me into. And he's like, I'll come pick you up right now. And I was like, quiet for a second. I was like, why don't you give me 24 hours? So I just wanted to process it. Like, this is what has to happen, you know?
Yeah.
I had nobody in my life telling me that I should do this. My mom wasn't even really telling me that I needed to go to the program or anything. I think her going there was her attempt to try to get me there, of course, but she needed it for herself too.
And that's the reality, is you have to come to that place yourself.
Yeah.
You can't do it for anybody
else. If somebody tells you to and you go try to do it, you're most likely not going to be successful at it because you don't really truly want to.
Yeah.
And I can't explain any of this. I can't explain what happened the day at the concert. I can't explain making this phone call and calling this complete stranger and saying, hey, pick me up.
Yeah.
Like, this is all God right here. And these are the things that make me know he's real. It's because I can't explain him. Because I would never make this choice on my own.
Yeah. Even being disgusted, after that concert, right?
Yeah.
What once was fun is now disgusting.
Yeah.
That's not you.
Yeah.
Right? That's not the world.
My friend explained it to me the best. I ran into him a couple years back in the store, and this was my first friend from first grade. So we were together all this time, doing whatever, best friends our whole life.
Yeah.
I saw him in the store once, and he said, I remember you. This was right before I went to that concert, and I was staying at his sister's house, so he was there all the time. He's like, I remember you looking at me, and you had tears running down your cheeks and a smile on your face. And he's like, I'll never forget that. And I was like, that explains it so well. Like, smiling through the tears. Yeah. I was so miserable, but I was just trying to keep this face on.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know there was a way out. So
yeah,
I talked to Anthony. He gives me 24 hours. I don't do anything crazy during that 24 hours. I got some alcohol, drank a little bit of alcohol, smoked all my cigarettes down. It was like, pick me up at the hospital, because the hospital was right next door at this time. So I go up to the hospital. I'm like chain smoking my whole pack of cigarettes. And I throw like more than half a pack in the garbage. That's so out of my character too.
Yeah.
Like normally like you're going to want to try to sneak those in or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But like I'm like all or nothing. When I do something, I'm all the way or I'm not at all.
Sure.
And if I was going to go to a program, why would I want to continue doing the things I'm doing in the program, you know? There's no point in being there. I'll just leave and go keep doing what I'm doing. So he picked me up. He brought me to Teen Challenge. Super weird experience showing up at a place like that.
Yeah.
Like not really knowing what I'm getting myself into at all. Still have warrants. I'm still on the run. Like, you know, I still had those warrants in Placer County. So,
Yeah.
There's all these guys there and I'm like feeling the place out because I'm like jail mentality, you know?
Yeah.
Like when you walk into the room, you got to know who's there. You got to figure out who the people are, what they're like. Super weird environment to me. I can't explain it. But everybody loved me.
Yeah.
I didn't have to know them. They just, you know, accepted me. And I feel like the same thing was happening with God, was he was just accepting me. And I was a disaster.
Yeah.
And
yeah, there's a lot that was going to have to break down.
Yeah. So Teen Challenge, I went there November 8th, 2013. So I just celebrated 11 years sober.
Yeah.
So this
Awesome.
November. So the program life is like jail without the drugs and without the fights and, you know, all the harsh stuff. But it's like the same environment. It's a bunch of men locked up together trying to make the best out of it that they can. But I think the program is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but also the best thing I've ever done in my life.
Amen.
I gained 70 pounds when I went to the program. That's how little and strung out I was.
Yeah.
I was 100 pounds when I went there.
That's crazy.
And so they say it's a 13-month program. I ended up staying for 2 years.
Not uncommon.
Yep, pretty normal.
Yeah.
The reason I ended up staying was because my GED, because I dropped out of high school. And that GED was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life too.
Yeah, there's a guy up here just recently he was ready to complete, and that was his last thing. It was hard for him.
Yep, because I showed up to school, but I never did any work. So I'm like, you know, 6th grade level in everything.
Yeah.
I'm super thankful for the extra year though that I had to stay there. If I didn't stay that extra year, I don't think I would have made it. You know?
All in God's timing, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, it might have been a 13-month program, but
yeah, I'm like, I could do a year. That's easy.
yeah.
Done that in jail before. You know?
Yeah.
That was like, you know, it took me a while to grow up in there too. I still had the same mentality, the same looks, same talk, you know, for a while. But I think, I don't know, I just looked around and I saw normal people for the first time. Like all the guys that used to come do the chapels, Pastor Scott, Jack Swift. I started looking at these guys and they have kids, they have families, they have these normal lives. So that became the new thing I was like infatuated with, was like a normal life. Like, what's it like to have a normal life?
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I started digging into it a bunch, and I started getting books on marriage, and I wanted a wife now. I wanted kids now. And all these things started coming up for me within the first year or so. I started digging super hard into the Bible. I remember when I first got to the program, I was in crisis, and someone gave me my first Bible, and they were like starting Romans. I'd never heard anything else besides Proverbs and Psalms in jail.
Yeah.
And so I opened it to Romans, and that book was just like, I couldn't get enough of it. Like, where he's talking about, I do what I love and I do what I don't love and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And like, woe is me, what a wretched man I am. That was my life to the T. I was just a disaster. I was doing everything I loved doing, but I didn't want to do it. It's wrong inside. But that book just wrecked me.
Yeah.
I think I stayed in that book for like a good amount of time.
Well,
I read it over and over again.
That's an intense first book
Yeah.
to jump into. Most people will tell you John, to start with John or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, God knows what you need.
Yep. And like, I related so much to Paul, because he's been through it all. Mm-hmm. He has that in one of the books, I think Colossians or something. He goes through the whole list of all the things he's been through. Mm-hmm. Like
shipwreck 4 times.
Exactly.
Imprisoned.
Yeah. And that was my life too. Mm-hmm. It's just like every time I turn around, it's another tragedy happening. Yeah. Or, so once I put my nose in the Bible, it was crazy how attached to it I was.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I was like, this is alive to me.
Once what was foolishness, right? Mm-hmm. You were thinking of Chinese proverbs as you were hearing, biblical proverbs. Now makes total sense, and you can't get enough of it.
Yeah,
that's the definition of going from ungodly to godly.
Yeah,
and Scripture says Scripture is foolishness to those who don't believe.
Yeah, and it was. I thought it was like a joke, like, I don't know, but once I really took hold of it, I was just like, wow. And Anthony ended up being my counselor, and we did like late night sessions, just reading and going deep. I went deep in the first year.
That's awesome.
Super deep. And I felt like I just needed to get all of this out of me, because I never had anybody to talk to. All I had was my friends who I related to.
Yeah, who were the same.
That were in the same boat,
Yeah.
And I'm the only one of my friends right now who's out. They're all still doing the same thing. One's facing, my first friend from first grade is facing 15 to life right now. One of the other ones, I think, isn't alive anymore. Last I heard, he had cancer, and he was in prison with cancer, dying.
Yeah.
And I ran into one of the other ones the other day, walking down the street, still in the same lifestyle. I tried to give him my number so I can help, but they got to want it.
Yeah. Maybe somebody will drag him to a Christian concert, right?
Exactly.
That's right.
So yeah, that's the first year of the program. Digging super deep, trying to figure out what a normal life is. Pastor Scott, Pastor Jack kind of took me under their wing, brought me books on marriage. Jack was coming and doing chapels on marriage and women and all this stuff, and like, I never knew how to treat a lady, You know,
You had zero example.
I didn't care about them at
Yeah.
all. All I wanted was what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And if they didn't have anything for me, then I didn't want them around. Um, and watching my mom's relationship. When you're
Yeah.
a kid, watching your parents, I think that's super important.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an important way that you're taught to treat people,
Yeah.
to treat relationships.
You are the picture of the gospel to
Mhm.
your children.
Yeah.
You are
And
that spiritual example.
my picture was drug abuse and
Mm-hmm.
physical abuse and
Right.
fighting and yelling and screaming and all those things. So
It was going to take something supernatural
yeah,
to break that chain for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I dug deep into marriage before I even met a girl, before anything. I just, if I was going to get out of this program and have a successful, normal life and have a family, I just
Yeah.
desired to have a family. I was a single child growing up. I think when you're a single child, you want a big family for some reason.
Yeah.
And when you grow up with a bunch of siblings, you want a small family.
Yeah.
So I wanted a big family. I wanted a wife and 5 kids. That was like my idea, So we're getting to halfway through the program now. I've dug into marriage a bunch. And now I'm like, I want a wife, so I start praying for a wife and I write a list. I write everything I want in a wife. I forget who told me to do that, but somebody told me to do that. And so I write this list down. I start praying every night. I remember just like every night praying for a wife. I'm going out on passes now, and I'm meeting with my grandma is picking me up, and I'm going on pass with my mom basically, because my mom's doing good at this point.
Yeah.
So they take me to this church event in Pin Valley, which is right outside of Grass Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a church full of elderly people,
Yeah.
And in the front row, there's this woman, beautiful woman with her young little child in the front row. She's the only young person there. And I don't really remember how it all happened, but I was just like watching her and her kid, and the kid was being super wild and like trying to jump over the seats and being obnoxious, so my attention was on her the whole time. And I end up meeting her, and we knew each other from our past. We'd crossed paths a few times. Like she came with another guy to my mom's apartment once, and I seen her at another house party, and she saw me, I saw her. I didn't really know where we knew each other from at that point. And then like next time I go on pass, I have a friend request from her on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah.
And we started talking, and we started, I started talking to the pastors about it. Like, what do I do? How do I do this? I don't want to just date a girl, with no intent to marry or anything. So I have a whole new outlook on women now. And I learned about courting. And so I saw her on another pass, and this is after we're already talking on Facebook and stuff. And like, I pulled her to the side after church, and I just prayed for her. And I don't think she'd experienced that ever from a man either, because men just take, And I prayed for her, and it was awesome, to just pull her to the side and pray with her, like from the heart. And then after that, we started courting, which is Christian dating. It's dating with intent to marriage.
Exactly.
So I didn't want just another messy relationship. I'd already been in plenty of those.
Yeah. And you're still in the program at the time.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting.
Which is not supposed to be happening. So I ended up getting in a little trouble for that one.
Extended your program a little bit.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we're, I don't know. I just wanted to marry the next woman I dated. I didn't want another relationship at all. So I kind of set the standard for those things early on with her. And I don't want to have sex till I'm married. And I want all these things, you know?
Yeah.
I wanted it to be right and I wanted it to be perfect. And it was. It was great. And
it's amazing how that works when we try to do things God's way. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so going through the program still, I'm basically in a relationship, which I'm not supposed to be. They find out because I'm talking on the phone more than I'm supposed to, all these things.
Yep.
Definitely doing what I'm not supposed to. But at the same time, I'm not dating, you know?
Yeah.
It's technically not dating. We're just friends with intent to get married. And I get in trouble for it. I'm not allowed to call her for 30 days or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm working on my GED at this point. That was a big, almost like smack in the face because it was like going through the program, didn't even know I had to be working on it. I was already in third, fourth phase at this point. And then all of a sudden, bam, hey, you got to get your GED. You can't graduate without it. And I was like, just met her.
Yeah.
And thinking I'm going to be out of the program soon and we can start this, and end up staying there for another year, working on my GED, going through the hardest trials of my life, you know?
Yeah.
That was so hard. And that was the years where they set it to the college standard. So it was like twice as hard. So I really struggled with it. I had tutors and all kinds of stuff trying to help me. And I was going to night classes, getting rides and all that from the program to night classes. Yeah. And it was tough. But I ended up not being able to pass. I failed it multiple times. And I set up a meeting with Mike. And I was like, I can't take this anymore. I'm leaving. Like threw a big fit, crying, like flipping out because I just couldn't do it. I literally couldn't do. I couldn't pass. And it would be like by 2 or 3 points every time. And it was math and history that was the hard thing for me.
Yeah.
And so finally I get to the point where he's like, okay, I'll allow you to graduate. And so I did. I graduated successfully, and we had set up, planned to get married. I asked her to marry me, and I think it was 6 months of dating when I asked her to marry me, because we got married a year and a day. We dated for a year and a day and got married.
Nice.
And so, like, going through the program, I had heard it before, like, Christianity's not easy, you know, all these things. But I'm like, I have the mindset, like, this is going to be great. I just came out of that. This is going to be great. You know, marriage is going to be great. This new life is going to be great. I had never had a job in my life, you know, never been a normal person in my life.
Yeah.
And now I'm going from living with 25 men to moving in with one woman and her child. And thinking it's going to be all cupcakes and rainbows. I was way wrong. Way wrong. So first year of marriage was the hardest time that we've had. We get pregnant right away. We have a miscarriage, and that was like so hard for me. That was like back to mad at God.
Yeah.
Okay, I just did this whole program. I put my all into it.
Yeah.
Every ounce of good that I have got put into doing this and changing my life around. I get out of this program, and this is how it's going to start.
Mm-hmm.
I was mad.
Yeah.
So if anybody says Christianity is easy, they're lying.
Amen.
You got to work at it.
Amen.
It's not always going to be easy. If anything, I feel like it's harder. Because back in my old life, I could just do whatever I wanted when I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't like something, I could run from it. When you're a man and you're living a normal life, you have to face your problems head on. And you can't just run away from them. Yep. Especially when there's another woman or a child involved. You have to be a man and face them.
Yep.
And after that miscarriage, it happened on Valentine's Day. So that was super hard.
Yeah.
Hard for both of us. So I turned to the next thing that I could relapse on. That wasn't drugs. And I developed a porn addiction. And that was the one thing I could do that wouldn't have physical, consequences for my family.
Yeah.
So I thought,
Yeah.
But in reality, that's worse for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It would have probably been better for me to just relapse, go back to the program, and start over again. But I held on to this addiction for quite a few years, and it's a hard one to break. Like before, I didn't think I had a problem because that was normal in that lifestyle. So here I am thinking I don't have a problem, and I went through all these marriage books, and marriage is going to be great, and I'm going to have a wife, and I don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And, not true. The first tragedy that happened just threw me over the edge.
Yeah.
And so that caused a lot of problems in our marriage that are long lasting, that are still lasting to this day. But we had, we named that baby. Her name was Mercy. And, we've both had dreams of her, seen her face, and I believe that there's a reason for that too that I can't explain.
Yeah. Yeah, God allows us to go through some things. And sometimes, again, knowing the exact why behind some of the tragedies in life is really difficult. There was somebody I know that went through losing a child, essentially stillborn, so gave birth within hours. And the amount of times that person has been able to speak into the life of someone else struggling with something similar is amazing.
Yeah.
Right. And again, I'm not saying that's why. I'm just saying that is a something that you have that you can walk through a season of life with somebody that I can't, because me and my wife haven't experienced that. Right. So yeah, those are really tough times. So.
Yeah. So it was like I had peace having a dream and seeing her face, knowing that she's somewhere and I'll see her one day. And then after that, we're 4 kids now.
Yeah.
She had one when we got married, who I took on as my own, and he's my son to the fullest.
Amen.
And we had, so that's Jordan. We had Jacob, Jackson, and Jade. And 3 boys, 1 girl. Youngest is 5 right now. Jordan's 14.
All right.
So got a good little group.
Yeah.
And
So
But
interesting something you said. So the first, tragedy that hits, right? And you turned to something else, right? There's a lesson, right, in that, right? And you're new in this navigating, marriage and out of this program, right? And growing in your faith.
yep,
And I've talked recently about this with our Sunday school is when life happens, because it will, when tragedy strikes or when just normal life happens, what is our first response?
yep,
Is it to turn and run? Is it to go get worldly advice? Or is it immediately to your Heavenly Father?
yep,
Now, it might be through godly wisdom from someone, right?
yeah,
You could have turned to someone who could give you godly wisdom. I'm not saying it has to be like, probably should be
yep,
crying out to the Lord, but it could be godly wisdom.
yeah,
And that first response, right? That's training. That's
yeah,
a muscle that we have to work on to exercise as a Christian.
yeah,
Particularly in your case, because you had exercised a different muscle for a lot of years.
yeah.
Right. And so
That was my
yeah.
natural reaction
Mm-hmm.
to tragedy, was turn to something that's going to numb the pain.
Mm-hmm. I think it's important for people to hear and work through themselves and hear how you worked and are working through, that. And it's a lesson, I think, for someone to hear.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So, so that happened. A lot of things happened in the first year of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It was really tough. My family all of a sudden went from not wanting anything to do with me to super clingy. Like, we want everything to do with you now. Now you got a wife. Now you got this. Now you're back. You're not on drugs anymore.
Right.
My mom's coming around. My grandma's coming around. Everybody's just coming around.
Yeah.
And it was overwhelming. And we wanted to take our first year and spend it, just me and her, and grow into living together and knowing each other, because we had only dated for a year,
Yeah.
So my mom was like, a lot of things happened with my mom, particularly. She still had her manipulative, way of doing things, like, on the side, she asked my wife if she could live with her and all these things, and without me there. And then she would tell me, and I'd be like, no way. We haven't even got a chance to live together yet ourselves, and I think that's just the habit of my mom, is that when I had something, she was there. And when she had something, I was there. When she had a house, I was moved in,
There was almost a codependency.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Which I had to learn that, as a new man, I had to learn what all that stuff was like in the moment,
Yeah. Creating
And
boundaries.
My wife helped me a lot with that, and it was really hard, and it's still really hard to have boundaries with people. But in turn, I helped her with our oldest son's dad, because when we were first married, he would just walk in the front door, and I was like, that can't happen anymore.
Yeah.
So we both helped each other with boundaries in certain areas to kind of develop a good household for each other.
Yeah.
But getting rid of my mom was a really hard thing. It makes me super sad still to this day, because we asked for a year to get to know each other, basically.
Yeah.
My mom, grandma, everybody was at the wedding. They were all a part of it.
Yeah.
They were a part of my program. They helped me. They picked me up for passes, all the good stuff. But all we asked for was this year,
Yeah.
And my mom wouldn't stop trying to push her way in, you know? I tried to do like cards for holidays and call her and be in touch and all this stuff still. But every time I would get in touch, she would try to push her way in. So I started learning how unhealthy mine and my mom's relationship was. We were a mess together, you know? We were codependent on each other.
Yeah.
My dad did what he did. We were both out on the street. We had to survive together. You know, that developed a super bad relationship between us. She wasn't my mom. She was my friend. And I was her protector and man of the house when there was no man there, you know?
Yeah.
And to push that onto a child is not very fair, you know, to make a child, you know, your man of the house.
Yeah.
And have to chase all these boyfriends off and have to do all this stuff. So she did a lot of things to me in that first year of marriage that were just super like offensive to my wife and offensive to me. And like my actual graduation ceremony for Teen Challenge, she brought one of the ex-boyfriends that I really didn't like. He was the only one I never could catch. So he didn't get beat up because I couldn't catch him. But she brought him to that ceremony, and I was just so offended by it. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Like, this is about me, you know? And I'm inviting you to celebrate me, and you're going to bring this person.
Yeah, that's tough.
And so I just started learning that, like, I have to, like, release her from my life. I can't let her walk all over me anymore. And my wife had to teach me that.
Yeah.
She had to show me all the ways that she was doing stuff because I was blind to it, because I was just used to it, you know?
Yeah.
It didn't bother me, you know?
Yeah, that's hard. I mean, from her perspective, or from she had created things and habits and, you know, behaviors in her life.
Yeah.
That those same muscles that God freed you, you know, from, and you had to learn even in the beginning of your marriage.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it sounds like she was still holding on to a lot of those behaviors that were so ingrained and were hard to break for her.
The way that I saw her go through her program, she completed in 10 months. And she was on his staff, and she stayed on his staff. And I think 10 months for a 20-year drug addiction is just not enough.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's just not enough. And I think she didn't get to the root issue of what was keeping her down and keeping her there.
Yeah.
And so she had a lot of behaviors that she had before still. And she tried to bring them into my household, and I was going to try to have a normal marriage and a normal family and raise kids, and my kids will never see that lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's like, you know, most people go one way or the other. They either end up living just like their parents did, or they go complete total opposite.
Yeah.
And I went complete total opposite. And there's no way that I will ever let my kids see that lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, my prayer for her is she allows or sees God to change even those behaviors, even that have been offensive since you've been married.
Yeah.
God is a big God.
Yeah.
Right. You talked about Paul earlier, right? That dude was the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
Right. King Manasseh in the Old Testament, worst of the worst.
Yeah.
Burned his own children.
Yeah.
Sacrificed his own children.
Yeah.
Right. But fell on his face.
Yep.
And was restored. And so I hear you, and I'm not trying to change your mind on any of what you shared.
Yep.
My prayer for her is that she would see those things and that she would allow God to release her from those things.
Yep. I love my mom to the fullest, you know, but I started to learn like the reality of what was actually going on back then. I started to learn that my dad's not such a bad guy. You know, when I go back and think of my childhood memories, I have nothing but good memories about my dad. You know, of course, there's the things that happened, you know, the chase and the turning himself in, and then the abuse and the fights and that stuff. But like, my dad spent time with me. You know, he used to build me skate ramps in the yard and hang out with me. And, you know, he was there. I vividly remember him being there. And I have a lot of bad memories with my mom. You know, she was there for me, but she was closer to a friend to me than she was a mother. Like, she didn't, you know, do the things that a kid needs in his life. She just wanted to please me and be the fun mom.
Yeah. I think one of the things that's hard, I think, and you're feeling this, is without God, we are all broken.
Yeah.
Right. And their broken was broken. Right. And that manifested itself in one way in your dad.
Yeah.
Right. It manifested a different way in your mom.
Yeah.
And the evil one, right? I mean, that's Satan, the evil one, working in the lives of people who've turned their lives over to him, right?
Yep.
And even, I mean, you were in that position. You had given yourself to that same lifestyle, right? And so all of those things affected each one of those people. And yes, your mom's behaviors and actions affected you, and so did, but at the core, we are all wicked.
Yep.
Scripture's super clear.
Yep.
Right? We all deserve hell.
Yeah.
And only by the grace of God
Yep.
are we rescued from that. And so I hear you, you know, from how the evil of this world manifested itself through your mom and has affected your life.
Yeah.
And in some ways, your dad as well.
Yep.
And in some ways, yourself and the things that you did that impacted your own life, right? Personal responsibility.
Yeah.
We got to own our own stuff. And so yeah, that's, I mean, you're still, and probably will, grapple with all of this.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yep. And neither one of them is better than the other. Neither one of them made better choices than the other. They both are in the same boat.
Yeah.
I just remember like the things I needed versus the things I wanted. You know, my dad gave me a lot of things I needed, like time, and he was present when he was present. And, you know, my mom gave me all the fun that I wanted. And kids don't always need fun. They need responsibility, and they need, and that's one thing I never learned, which I had to figure out as a 25-year-old adult who'd never had a job before and got my first job dishwashing. You know, that's like a teenager's job at 25. And I had to work my way up from the bottom.
That's right. And interesting how, you know, even from a worldly sense, your dad wasn't guiding you spiritually.
Yeah.
But time, presence.
Yeah.
Again, there's just, a core lesson for us as fathers and mothers.
Yeah.
Spending time, investing in time with your kids is so critical.
Even me, I have such a hard time spending time with my kids because I wasn't taught that, you know?
Right.
So it's hard for me now. And yeah, as far as my dad, something I want to go back to is in the program, somebody told me to write him a letter and ask him or tell him that I forgive him. And that was the hardest thing I ever did in my life. I literally wrote out what happened that night and was like, I forgive you for this. You know, I don't hold anything against you for what you did.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I've began to form a relationship with my dad. So I've kind of put my mom to the boundary side, and I need space from my mom. You know, I asked for a year. She kept pushing and pushing and pushing. It's been 10 years now. And I haven't, you know, I've completely cut off contact with her now. She's only met my firstborn one time, and that's hard to have to do. Yeah. But it just kept going farther and farther, and she ended up back on drugs and alcohol, as far as I know, and back with a bad boyfriend, back in an abusive relationship, and she can't break the cycle for whatever reason. I've only seen her make it 5 years, my whole life, you know?
Yeah, it's tough.
And my dad, he now comes for Christmas, comes for Thanksgiving sometimes. He's met all the kids, and he's completely sober, you know, back to his normal, gentle self. And he was never that violent person, you know? Drugs turn you into a monster.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like there's lots of prayer to go around for both, right? That your dad continues to live that wonderful lifestyle that he is committed to.
Yeah.
And for your mom, again, pray that she's rescued from that darkness that she continues to walk in.
I pray for her all the time, and I hope there's a day that I see a true change in her.
Amen.
And, you know, I'm happily married.
Amen.
There's struggles. There's always struggles.
Amen.
You know, it's ups and downs like a roller coaster. We started off in the crazy thing is I went from the program to she owned a house downtown on Crack Street. And I moved from the program back to the street that everything originated on. You know,
which sometimes is not a good path. But praise God
that was almost a deal breaker for me. I was like, because there's Church Street, the bad side's over here, then there's the churches, all the good side over here. And I was like, okay, Church Street. When she told me where she lived, I was like, yeah, she probably lives on the good side. And then I look into it. She lives on the bad side. I could see my old house through the front window. So, but we moved in there. We were there for a few years, but my main objective was to get off of that street, you know, and we ended up getting a good house on a good amount of property, and we have a good, safe place to raise all of our kids. And Christianity has been tough to manage, you know. We've gone through a church hurt too. So that's been another huge hurdle that we've had to go through. We were at a church for 10 years that was just not a good church, you know. But church doesn't represent God. And
I'm glad you said it.
I formed a relationship early on with God in the program, and I've had my moments where I'm mad at him or whatever, but like my relationship has stayed fairly steady with God the whole time. So being at this church for 10 years, my wife was already there when I met her. So it was kind of like, that's her home church. That's my home church.
Sure.
I didn't agree with a lot of things that they did, which I won't really get into, you know. But like I always kind of just felt like I didn't fit there. And then something happened that just was confirmed it all. And I was, you know, being taught things wrong, and I didn't agree with them, but I believed my leaders, you know. And I was kind of led in ways that I didn't want to go for 10 years. And finally, there was a conversation that was just the last straw for me. And I was like, I'm not doing this anymore, and we're leaving this church. But through that, my relationship with God is still the same. And that's what tells me that, you know, I'm on the right path. And now this last year, it's been about a year and 6 months or so maybe since we left there. I've had to start over from scratch. So I just quit all of this, and I went back to day one. I started going up to Teen Challenge again and like learning from scratch all over again. But my relationship with God has stayed exactly the same, I feel like. And you know, you can have a good relationship with God, and church doesn't really have to have anything to do with your relationship. Church is great. You need the fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a good church now. We're in a new church, a bigger church where our kids can thrive and they have good groups.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing. But I get to go sit in the front row and just enjoy the message now, you know?
Yeah. The beauty of God, God himself is never changing,
Yeah.
right? He is the comforter. There's so many names, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can attribute to him. And none of them are the things that happened to you at that church.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when we experience those things where we are, we have a true biblical offense at a church, it's not God.
Yeah. It's like you said, people are wicked.
Yeah. Well, and it's men that hurt.
Yeah.
It's not God.
Yeah.
They happen to be standing in the four walls of a church.
Yeah.
And so I understand the term church hurt.
Yeah.
But I try to stress with people, it was a man or a woman that hurt you who claims God.
Yeah.
It wasn't God.
Yep.
Right? God is never changing.
Yeah.
He is a God of love and justice, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's two sides, the grace and truth of God. We have to take those together. But too often, and thankfully you guys are in a good place, right?
Yeah.
That relationship has stuck, but a lot of times that will cause people to not go back to church.
Yep.
Or to swear off Christianity.
Well, it's been hard for sure.
Yeah.
Like to want to go to church, you know, because I kind of look at the new church and I'm like, is this real or is this, you know? And I just have to continue to go to God with that stuff and just enjoy it for what it is.
Because that can be some of your old ways too, right?
Yeah.
Because you can cut and run, right?
Yeah.
And that was your past.
Yep.
And to trust again, that's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard when someone has hurt you, and that's real.
Yep.
But to be in fellowship, to be united, right? All these terms you hear in the New Testament.
Yep.
The consumerism of the American church is frustrating at times.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is, look at Paul's letters about getting along. You need to deal with this in your church, right? He's writing these letters of addressing issues in their churches, right?
Yep.
Well, one of the reasons was you couldn't just get in your car and drive to the next church.
You had to walk 100 miles.
It was a 4-day walk, right?
Yep.
You're not going to go, from Corinth to Ephesus,
Yeah.
right? It's not a thing,
Yep.
right? So they, in unity, had to deal with what was going on.
Yeah.
And so this, I don't like what's going on here. I don't like the worship here. I don't like right? I'm just going to jump in my car and just now look, everybody has the privilege to go whatever church they want.
Yep.
But like just this consumerism of churches I don't know that it's a benefit to the American church.
Yeah.
So I can get on a high horse, but
I know
we shouldn't.
It's a hard subject to go through, but it happens, and there's hurt in every church, and that's where you have to have a true relationship with God.
Yeah. And hopefully humble leaders, right?
Yeah.
So, as an elder in our church, you just have to pray and pray and pray and pray. Lord, keep me humble. Like, just because I'm in this position where I help guide your church makes me no less important than anybody else in this body. Yes, there's some things you require of me and ask of me as an elder.
Yeah.
But Lord, please correct me where I'm wrong. If truth isn't coming out of my mouth, please correct me. Like, hopefully that is the posture of leaders of churches.
Yeah. Well, the reason Teen Challenge did a good job at building the foundation of that for me, because they let you choose your own home church on your own.
Yeah.
And then they let you figure out how to get there yourself and build relationships with people. And I think at the time I chose the wrong church, because I was like, I loved worship and I loved the music, so I chose the big church that had the nice music and the, multiple different bands. And
Sure.
but the reality of it was I liked the smaller, close knit church that was more like family.
Yeah.
And that was like awesome truth every Sunday, not like a,
Feel good.
feel good message. Like I want some harsh truth.
Yeah. Meat.
Because that's what helps us grow.
Amen.
But,
yeah. Awesome, man. Well, I didn't, like I said at the beginning, I didn't know your story, and it was awesome to hear, frankly, a story of deliverance of, you were not set up to succeed.
Yep.
Right. And there's probably a million people, and I wish all of them would listen, right, to, that come from a story of, and it could look different, right? It doesn't have to be drugs, alcohol, burning down, trailers.
Yep.
But that we're dealt a bad hand, that we're not set up to succeed from early in life.
Yeah.
And yet a grandma who maybe you butted heads with, right? Drug you to a Christian concert where God used a faithful man to approach a random stranger that a year later, right?
Yep.
Reconnected and everything changed.
Yeah.
Right. So that is a story, frankly, that I think there's millions of people out there can relate to. So I appreciate you sharing that story.
Yeah. I'll forever be grateful for that day and for him coming up to me like that.
Yeah. Well, what would be sweet is I've talked to Mr. Cencione about coming and sitting in this chair. So I'm going to have to text him tonight and tell him that we talked, and maybe that'll kick him in the butt to come share his story, because his is pretty crazy as well.
Yep.
I've heard parts of his testimony. So it's the blessing I have, frankly, that God put this on my heart a few years ago. And it was I think it's 7 words, that the testimony of a believer is powerful. Mm-hmm. And those words rang in my head for a couple of years until, frankly, I felt like I was being resistant to God.
Yeah.
And that's what this kind of was born out of. And I feel privileged to sit here and hear people's stories and the messages. I've gotten a few, and it's just been a few.
Yep.
On Facebook or on YouTube that have talked about the program, and Johnny, being this guy's counselor. Yeah. And hey, I'm not really walking the walk right now that I should, and this encourages me to get back into my faith.
Yeah. I saw it and I was like, wow, somebody I know is doing this. I was like, I got to be a part of that. Yeah. And I love listening to it too, because the testimony that's like, I grew up a Christian and I didn't really have that hard of a life, but this is what I struggle with. Those stories touch me too. Yeah. From a point of view like mine, where I grew up in hell, Yeah. Those stories are amazing.
There was one of the stories, we're just talking now, but one of the stories that Pastor Lucas told that I didn't anticipate to touch one of my female coworkers. She listens. She lives in Dallas, right? And she heard the story of how when he committed his life to Christ, he did 2 things. He went back and apologized to his parents, and he went to every girl that he had slept with and asked for forgiveness.
That's awesome.
Because he wanted to honor them where he had dishonored them. Yeah. And that story impacted this lady I work with.
Wow.
Like I wouldn't have even thought that a guy's testimony, and one little nugget in that would touch someone in that way. And that's why I don't make any presuppositions of who your story is going to touch. because that's for God to do, not me.
Well, in the program, they pretty much make you share your testimony.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to just hate it in the beginning, they're putting me on stage and putting me on blast, and then this lady came into the restaurant one time and they were like, you're going to share your testimony with her. And I shared like a 5, 10, 15 minute maybe testimony with her, just real quick, like this is what I went through. And this lady like fell on her knees crying and telling me about this grandson or son, one of the two, who I'm identical to, who died from a heroin overdose and all this stuff. And she was like, you were sent by God to tell me this story. And like, that was when testimony like really opened up to me. And I was like, whoa, this really is something for people.
Amen. Somebody will more likely listen to your story who is lost before they will ever pick up the Bible.
Yep. We're the best version of the Bible.
Because, again, back to your story, Scripture is foolishness to those who don't believe.
Yep.
Right? But if they see how God changed Carl's life, and that's nothing but God, they might just go explore, right?
Yeah.
And they might pick up Romans 8.
Yeah, exactly.
And be impacted. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for just sharing your story and the victory that comes through Jesus. And he has blessed you with that family that you, envisioned and were desiring. So I've met your sweet family, and blessings to you and your family. So Thanks again. Thanks for joining this episode of the 180 podcast. Some people ask how they can help. You can like, comment, and subscribe, and even hit that notification bell to our YouTube page, or give us a follow on Instagram or Facebook and catch the latest videos.